every startup is fast-paced and high-growth kind of a culture. So how do you drive high performance from your teams without culture being tagged as toxic?
Is setting the right expectations.
Why over this time is one, setting great examples, right?
Clearly defined role, what you expect that person to do, hiring the right talent, and then keeping them motivated.
I started looking at the numbers and realized that how can a large industry not be created in an area where there are almost 5 billion people, 5 billion searches which are happening only on Google. Then you're basically talking about people wanting to gift flowers, people wanting to call for cakes in their own house or send it to someone.
I strongly believe in learning from osmosis, learning from the environment. And I also strongly believe that most of the people in current times, right, when they are working from home, there's a lot of distraction that they are going through. And once you become comfortable in that, even high performers, kind of start to reduce the ability and the potential that they have.
So general problem starts to happen is when you start to move right from execution to managerial roles, right? And some of them are not able, or most of them are not able to make that transition.
Hello and welcome back to the Corner Office. I'm your host, Sumit Lakhani. This edition of the Corner Office promises to be 3 times more exciting as we have 3 amazing startup leaders joining us today. First, we have Tarun Joshi, founder and CEO of IGP.com and Joint Ventures. Next, we have Rumit Dugar, CFO with BlueStone. Our final guest is Dhruvil Sanghvi, founder and CEO of LogiNext. Welcome to the show, guys, and thank you for taking out the time. I'm really excited to have you all together. So without much ado, let's start the show. Tarun, I'll start with you. You are an aeronautical engineer, right, from Punjab Engineering of College. And then you went for an MBA with ISB. And then your first job was as a scientist with DRDO. And now you're an accomplished startup founder. What is the interesting story behind all these choices?
So, Sumit, I guess the journey started much earlier. When I was, I think, 6 years old, I was very passionate about sports. So started playing badminton then. Went on to play like 11 times nationals. I used to represent Rajasthan. But at the same time, you know how sports career at that time were, right? So you have to actually find something which is passionate as well as can get you a lot more money, right, in life. So I was again very passionate about space, about aeronautics, how do you design planes. So I chose to do my aeronautical engineering. The biggest project at that time was to design India's first fighter plane, right? And there were no private organizations; it was only government. So right from beginning, I worked very closely with very senior defense officers, right? Mr. Abdul Kalam, who helped India bring this dream to reality. That's how it all started. But again, the challenge is how do you create large organizations? Is again something that I think a lot of us and founders typically have this kida in them to probably create something larger than life and for the world. And if it is from India, nothing like it, right? So the journey I think is just keep following your passion and your gut feel and instinct, and then life takes you through the way.
Yeah. And your early childhood is from Kota.
Yeah. So I was born in Kota, studied over there, and then I think post that I've just been away. Yeah.
Great. Coming on to you, Rumit, you and I are SP Gen batchmates, and I know you come from a family of CAs. Once you told me that your finance education started when you were 3 years old, but you chose to become an engineer. Then you came back to finance. How come this kind of a career choice and now with a startup?
So it's quite interesting, the story. So I grew up in a very classical Calcutta Marwadi family, right? And I think one thing which was very unique in the family was that everybody was sort of into the stock market. This is like 80s, 90s, starting from my grandmom, my granddad, my dad, chacha. So the entire family. So when you wake up in the morning, you see the hustle of the market, right? And as kids, we were very curious, what's happening, what are markets, etc. And from wherever we could find something around markets, talking to family members, etc. So that built a lot of curiosity around finance, markets, businesses, etc. And then back in the early 90s, what used to happen is there were no demats, etc. So every time somebody in the family would trade a stock, you had to fill that whole big transfer form. And there's so many transfer forms to be filled, you needed just manpower to actually fill it. So as kids, we would just keep filling that. So I think that's how that's the background in which I kind of grew up. Engineering, because I was good at math, science, etc., it sort of kind of became a choice that, okay, I gave the exam, I passed. But then I realized that really I'm more a finance guy at heart. And I think that's the time I decided to actually move to the core finance field.
Yeah. And rounding up our trio of incredible overachievers, let's hear from Dhruvil. Dhruvil, you are Carnegie Mellon alumnus. You're Forbes 30 under 30. Then you're Hurun 35 under 35. And you are a very, very successful founder. What's your secret to winning? And has it been like this from childhood for you?
I think so I'll go back to my childhood first. Like how Rumit, Rumit kind of explained his childhood memories. I remember, some memories of having business conversations all around me, right? So I'm from a Gujju business family. I remember in my 10th grade, I got a lot of very good marks, which surprised my father because he never thought that I'm really good at education. And all their intent of my dad, my uncles was that ultimately तो धंधे में आ जाएगा, family business है तो वहीं पे आना है. And then I wanted to take science stream. I remember my बड़े चाचा, he actually took me on a side and बोला कि तू science लेके क्या करेगा? I'm like, engineer बनूंगा. उसके बाद क्या करेगा? Which obviously I hadn't thought about. So I thought कहीं job करेंगे, कुछ करेंगे life में, कुछ तो देख लेंगे. And उसके बाद क्या करेगा? I'm like, पैसा कमाएंगे. But the ultimate goal is that because that's what in business families you keep hearing about in terms of how much money you make and whatnot. And then he said कि ये काम कर तू अभी से ऑफिस आना शुरू कर ले. तेरे को अभी से ज़्यादा पैसा देंगे हम लोग. तो would you actually move? And that actually kind of shook me internally as a kid that okay, how do I really choose my career when ultimately it's all about money in long run. Then all this like short-term impact, fulfillment, does it even really matter or not? I still pursued science, pursued engineering, went to Carnegie Mellon to learn AI. My major is in AI and machine learning in 2010.
Yeah.
And I had just kind of taken that, coursework just to kind of explore what this cool tech is. I had, at that time there was no commercial implications. Fast forward 2015 when I moved back from US to India to start LogiNext. We were the first vertical AI agent for supply chain. Supply chain as a domain that occurred naturally to me because that's what I had seen in my previous work experience at Deloitte and as Ernst & Young. I was into consulting before that. But I think from an ambition perspective, I think I always had this, as we call it, soul in the hole.
Yeah.
So in front of my father, I was never enough. And I think that kind of, that feeling and the thinking, got transferred to me and myself. And I feel in hindsight now I have so much knowledge about dissecting myself. So I feel that I always had this self-doubt about how much I can achieve. And that kind of kept me going to do more and more and more. There are generally a lot of downsides of this kind of personality also because you usually go through a lot of stress. You take on pressure on yourself, right? And then naturally you reflect the same pressure on people around you as well. But I think the upside is that you end up achieving things which you never were designed to do, or you never thought you could do. That's my story.
So, Dhruvil, just a follow-up. Why LogiNext? Why B2B SaaS logistics platform? How come you got into this sector?
So, I was never into a B2B. I was never a sales guy as well. I was a hardcore techie. I was very introvert. Until I graduated from Carnegie Mellon, I was very introvert. I remember to get the job out of CMU and US job scene out of campus is about job fair,
right.
Unlike India, right, where all the companies would come on same day and students would go booth by booth and pitch themselves. That was such a big problem for me because oh my God, like I have to go and talk to 100 people today in one single day and everybody's going to judge me, right? So that happened, somehow got a job. I don't know what happened, somehow I got selected into consulting. Probably I had no other option to do a job, so I chose that. And I think Deloitte, over 3 to 4 years of experience, kind of transformed me. I think that's when, so Deloitte has this beautiful culture about every Friday, every employee of the entire company, and that company has some 100,000 employees. Everybody every Friday has to do something called as a firm activity. That basically is designed to create networking opportunity within the organization. So there's a lot of collaboration happens, learning happens, and ultimately the best of the lot who is good at networking and selling themselves, they get the promotion, because ultimately you become a partner where it's a selling job. I think that 3-4 years of hardcore networking, selling, at Deloitte kind of turned me into B2B. Plus, of course, supply chain happened to me because in 2011 to 2015, there was this whole wave of Amazon, Ubers of the world coming, right? So cloud became publicly available. So it was easier to build applications. Enterprise software was kind of slowing down because Oracles and SAPs had kind of sold clunky, ugly looking, complicated software for hell lot of more money than they actually deserve to earn. And home deliveries was becoming a thing, right? Gig economy, where people are not employed to deliver, but anybody can go and deliver, anybody can drive. So DoorDash happened, Grubhub happened, Amazon happened in terms of speedy deliveries. Like Amazon Prime got launched. Amazon started making public profits also. So people started believing in that e-commerce model. And not just US, this was the same trend across the world, right? So if you go to Southeast Asia, there was companies like, Grab. In India, the same Swiggy and Zomato started in the same time frame. E-commerce happened in the same time frame. China, South, Middle East, LATAM, Europe. It was a global phenomenon. And the last one was, obviously that I think I was just generally, more of a savvy person when I had this idea, I pitched to a few investors and I got very active interest. So I thought that, maybe this is the right thing to do at that point in time. And that's what turned me into a supply chain B2B software guy.
Wow, right. And Tarun, coming to your journey, what prompted you to or inspired you to start IGP.com and get into this segment and sector?
As I was explaining earlier, I've always been away from, since I was probably 8 or 9 years. And the first time the idea came to me was, most of my birthdays I would celebrate away from family, right? Tabhi to mobile phone bhi nahi hote the, right? So you would think, yaar, kuch gift mil jata. Koi wish kar deta, right? So it was more as a child. I think somewhere it was there. But when I actually started thinking about marrying the whole technology expertise or foundations that I had, combined with the whole business acumen gained through 8 years, 10 years of private equity experience, I was actually looking at which are the verticals which can basically become large. If you look at India, you can create large outcomes in verticals which are emotional in purchasing behavior, right? Because then they are not discount driven, right? But are equally heavy on the service side.
Yeah.
So the question was, the opportunity is very large. Like when I went to speak to any retailer, they would basically say 20% of our revenues happen from basically occasion-led buying, gifting, celebrations, right?
Yeah.
Or India mein to har mahine koi na koi celebration hota hai. So I started looking at the numbers and realized that how can a large industry not be created in an area where there are almost 5 billion searches which are happening only on Google.
Wow.
Right? That's the number of searches that actually are. So it's not that you just do your things in the right way, build your supply chain in the right manner, and the business will scale on its own. So it looked like a very, very large opportunity, right, which was completely untapped. And it was very different from the Western world because वहाँ पे एक Christmas होता है और एक New Year होता है, Halloween होता है. India starts with Lodi Pongal, right, and going up to Christmas, New Year, and we are like almost 82 festivals we celebrate in a year. Like just to give you some numbers, right? Every day there are 20 lakh birthday cakes being cut in India with no single national bakery chain.
Wow.
82 lakhs.
20 lakh.
20 lakhs.
20 lakh birthday cakes
every day. Wow. So just cake itself is a big market.
That's what I'm saying. So if you start combining the entire celebration ecosystem, then you're basically talking about people wanting to gift flowers, people wanting to call for cakes in their own house or send it to someone. Then there are big festivals like Rakhi, right? Now Rakhi is compulsive. Every sister has to send a Rakhi, right? It is so emotional, right? And it is a combination of product and service. It is not just one, because a large portion of this is I am sending it to someone else.
And I think as people become more nuclear and people have a more of a migrating kind of a philosophy in India, right? Where usually most people never used to leave that city for the entire life. I think more and more young population is moving to other cities for opportunities. I think they would have more and more such need to send things to somebody remote, I guess.
So we jokingly look at saying, "Jinki life set nahi hai na, they are the ones who are the largest buyers."
Yeah. No. Yeah. But one very interesting point you made is we don't have a single pan-India bakery chain with so many cakes being cut every day.
Pastry chain, right? I think pastry may be काफी. I think there are players तो हैं, but yeah, you are right. Like nobody has become large. What are the pitfalls of this business model? Are there any key challenges, which is why that doesn't happen?
The biggest challenge actually is not on the demand side. The biggest challenge is supply side. So you think about why there is no large bakery chain, because if you move to a new city, first you have to set up a big factory. Cake is a perishable product. You will have to manufacture it, invest into cold chain, then invest into cold chain at the shop. Then you open one shop. It takes 9 months to 12 months for the shop to start making any money because there are so many wastages, etc. So it's a problem where if you solve it via tech at each angle, you get better visibility. If you have an ability to generate traffic where you can pay money and get traffic on a particular destination, right? So it's the right combination, as I said, of ability to run a front-end shop, right, and an ability to create a very strong supply chain at the back end.
So given that it is sort of a pull product in some sense, right, where somebody decide, oh, I need to send somebody flowers, oh, it's his birthday or it's her birthday. So is pricing not an issue at all, because it has to be done and only you can do it like in the next 2 hours, 3 hours? And does that give like significant price advantage?
I would say elasticity is not very high, but people are range bound, right? There would be even as employees, when we start thinking about giving giveaways to our employees or channel partners, right? We usually bucket ourselves up to 1,000, up to 1,500, up to 2,000, right? Even when we are, let's say, picking up an international wine bottle, there is a mindset, okay, 2,500 rupees ki hogi, it's good enough, right? That's how people start thinking about. Now within that, the most important thing is India fundamentally has been, हम तो 100 रुपए भी 50 रुपए के लिफाफे में देते थे, right? So how it is presented actually makes all the difference. So you are range bound in your budget, and beyond that, then you want that it should look the most beautiful.
So Rumit, you have a very dynamic career journey. You've worked with large legacy companies like Infosys, JP Morgan, to various startups, and now with a very successful career with BlueStone. What made you choose such a diverse set of industries?
So interestingly, I think Infosys was sort of the first sort of job, right? So classical engineering, and then out of campus, and back in 2003-04, I just got into Infosys. I did coding for a couple of years. I just hated it, right? So I was like, मैं नहीं कर सकता ये, मतलब मुझसे बिल्कुल नहीं हो पाएगा. And not that I was a bad student or bad at coding, but I just didn't enjoy that process at all. And I said, look, I think finance is where I want to be. I want to be close to markets, capital allocation, and all of that. And that is when, obviously, I joined the B school where you and I were together. I think it gave a very interesting perspective, right? Like how large organizations kind of work, and they are still able to maintain their agility, competence, etc. And how do you create like large sustainable organizations? As well as then when you come into the startup world, it is a lot of it is kind of 0 to 1, and then scaling beyond, 1 and making that 1 to 100, right? So I think it gives a great combination and great perspective of how to build, and then build a very sustainable compounding kind of business, right? So I think that was very interesting, and that is what attracted me. I think I wanted to kind of look at new challenges, explore different areas, different sectors, and look at problem solving from different perspectives.
Yeah. So one of the things I have been reflecting on a while is a lot of companies which have been there since last 20, 30 years, but we look at startups. Do you think the way businesses are being built right now, are they going to sustain after one or two successful milestones?
I think that is the biggest elephant in the room for startups, because if you look at like classical way of valuing a business, for early stage companies or companies which are still not generating significant cash flows, large part of the value comes from terminal value, right? So how many startups are able to build for that terminal value rather than have a high growth to begin with, etc. And I think that is the biggest problem for a lot of the startups or even some of the scale startups to solve, because long-term value is going to be driven by terminal growth. I think for some of the startups, maybe 70 to 80% of the value actually comes from terminal value. Yeah. While maybe only 15-20% is coming from what you are doing today or what you are generating in terms of revenues, cash flows, etc. So I think that is a big problem to solve, and there are multiple inputs to that, right? In terms of how you build your team, leadership, org structure, talent, and create those compounding machines, which we have seen, right? Be it Asian Paints, Infosys of the world, etc. They have gone through their journey, but they are still compounding. They're still generating 25% ROEs, right? And still growing. So I think that is the big problem to solve for all the startups.
Which are the large Indian tech companies you think are overvalued?
Dhruvil is putting me on a spot. I think it's very hard to say what is, looks like market is, all of it is overvalued, right? The way the markets have been correcting, etc. But I won't take names, but there is generally a challenge for a lot of these companies which are not able to demonstrate that they have created terminal value. One perspective here, Dhruvil, is that on the quick commerce side, right? I think in India we've historically seen domination by FMCG brands because they enjoyed distribution monopoly, and to some extent they enjoyed a marketing monopoly, right? Because there was no digital, you couldn't do one-on-one marketing. Now, if quick commerce becomes a significant portion, why isn't there an opportunity to displace some of the FMCG brands and bring in private labels, right? Where you have the customer, you have the distribution, and we've seen it in US, right? I mean, private labels have over the last 30-40 years have displaced a lot of branded businesses, right?
But one key differentiator there is that when you say distribution, right? If you see, and correct me if I'm wrong, the CPG brands don't really do end-to-end distribution, right? Their job also ends at the distributor, right? Distributor to the retail stores and the last mile is still somebody else's problem. And the same happened to US as well, right? There was a bunch of D2C brands, right? That evolved, like the Dollar Shave Club and and then Bobby Parker and all of these guys, right? Look at the current market caps, like they're all 70-80% corrected, because ultimately when you try to displace distribution and make that as your problem, it's such a difficult and cash intensive game that you will ultimately not be able to create good shareholder value out of it. Profitability in distribution is very, very difficult. And right now, quick commerce, if you see the amount of money they're pouring in, it looks very beautiful right now because the amount of money being poured into the distribution piece of it is insane, which is not getting into public eyes too much.
Yeah.
I mean, one question is, if you have, let's say, a brand which is Zepto, right, which is selling anyways commodity, right, and you trust Zepto to deliver, you trust Zepto from a quick commerce perspective, from a supply chain perspective, would you be okay to buy like atta or dal, which is Zepto branded? I think that.
So long as it is still as cheap and distribution is free, and distribution at some point will cease to become free. I think that's the argument. And let us know if we're digressing too much. Huh? I'm just
no. So coming back to the core. So today we have not one but two Guinness record holders, Tarun and Dhruvil. Can you give us a detail about the record and how does it, whole process of getting into the Guinness book and the whole experience was like for you?
So first question was why do it?
Yeah.
we realized that we are solving a very complex problem, which is sending Rakhis to almost 150 plus countries, to almost about close to 20,000 pin codes in India, and backed by close to 10,000 women artisans who make Rakhi round the year. So they start in September for the next August. And every day, X number of Rakhis are hand woven and put across. So he said, when we are doing something like this, let's explain to the world that what does this scale mean, right? So that's when we approached the Guinness World Record, and we said that we would like to create a record around Rakhis. So first they didn't understand what Rakhis are. So they said, look, we have a category called bracelets.
Yeah.
So we'll try and club you in that category. Then we asked them that, okay, within bracelets, what is it that we can do? So after brainstorming, what came out is we would create a chain of bracelets. And we took the city of Jaipur, because a lot of our artisans are around that area. We created a 45-kilometer long chain of Rakhi bracelets, right? Which the earlier record of creating the largest was probably 1000x lower than this, right? So it is broken by like 1,000 times. It got featured. People got to know about Rakhi. People got to know about how sacred tying Rakhi is, and the immense scale at which India celebrates Raksha Bandhan as a festival.
Yeah. Wow. And Dhruvil, for you?
So our journey with this Guinness World Record started where we had this idea in mind that while AI is being chased by the world, India has a very unique opportunity around different models of AI, not just the large language model that most people talk about. And I think that race has been largely won by some of the big tech of US. AI is a much larger technology spectrum, right? There are so many different kinds of models. And I think that's where India can tap into, because not a lot of research or commercialization of those models have happened. So with that thought, we thought, why don't we gather the talent in India into under one single roof and see what different kinds of model that are already existing and how much creativity and power already exists in India, right? So with just that general thought, we thought, why don't we do a hackathon? That's the easiest way to kind of get this talent out. Initially, we thought, let's do a hackathon for a few hundred people in Mumbai, and we'll see what comes out. The moment we opened up, we got like few thousand applications, and we realized that we are actually sitting on a gold mine. There's something, whatever thesis we have, there's something playing there. Then we thought, if we let's look at what is the largest hackathon in the world. And we saw that the largest AI hackathon has not even happened in the world because it's so new. That's when we thought that why don't we really capitalize on this topic and make India shine, make Mumbai shine based on that theme. So, a couple of the companies came together. Quantify was another partner, and the team association that we have were also another partner. We all got together. We partnered with communities like Made in Mumbai, Product Folks. These are all largest communities of India of engineers. We got together. We hired a big venue, and we just kind of invited people, and we had thousands of people showing up. In that process, I think about 1 month before, we realized that, actually, if it's so big, why don't we actually apply for the Guinness World Records? So we reached out to Guinness, and they were very, proactive and kind to say, this is actually straight up our alley, and somebody else is also competing for it somewhere in Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And they were like, okay, then, and now there's a whole competition field came into it. So we were like, definitely we have to apply for it because we can't let this opportunity go for India. We did that, applied. I think Guinness process generally is very structured, they have a playbook on every single kind of events you may want to run and kind of record that you want to do, and what are the guidelines. Their compliance guidelines are super strong. So the moment you engage with them, they will appoint, I forgot the name, but they'll appoint somebody who will be an expert of that field to neutrally evaluate whether you are hacking this piece out into getting a record, or you truly are creating value in a meaningful way where you deserve to have a record. And that person helps you orchestrate it. They also come on site there are a lot of other evaluators, depending on the size of the record that you are appearing for. And immediately after 1 hour of the event, they evaluate the data, and then they give you a big certificate which kind of makes you feel very good. But yeah, I think that was the overall journey.
Wow, this is very exciting to know. So now we've understood your early life and your career, but just when you reflect back, was there any early setback that you reflect on and think, this is the one which actually defined my success today? Is there any early setback you can remember? This is for all of you.
There are many.
Yeah?
I don't think so. I think the journey starts and it starts with setbacks, right? You think raising capital is easy, it gives you the first setback. Then once you have capital, actually before capital, you first need to figure out a great team, right? Which you want to work with. You don't have money, you still want to have motivated individuals, right? Then after that, you think that, okay, once money will come, it will become easy. So I think team building is a constant setback that we all go through, whether it is wrong hires to whether it is getting great people, which you have to let go because of various reasons, right? So I think that's one very, very important area which I feel. The second area is, see, it takes time to even get a product market fit, no matter what kind of business you are in, right? You're trying to hustle every part, figuring out what that business model will be, right? While you are projecting to every investor or to the world that you have everything sorted, but back down, you know that nothing is sorted.
Yeah.
So I would say that hustle setbacks are just a very important part, and with time, the only thing that happens is you learn to live with them, you learn to enjoy them, and you start believing that every setback just makes you stronger. So I just always believe that it never gets easier, but you just start getting stronger.
Yeah, that's very well defined.
So again, I kind of agree with Tarun. There are many, but I think one particular which was sort of, or it was more a sort of a global event because it was my first few years into the capital markets world. So I saw the excesses of 2007, and then we saw Lehman, right? So it was absolutely crazy, right? That whole crash and how greed sort of had no bounds. So greed, leverage, capital allocation, everything got like thrown out of the window. So when you see something like this as a finance professional very early in your career, I think it can be great learning, right? Because it kind of tells you that, look, you need to have a process, you need to have clear capital allocation, leverage, etc., right? So I think that was a huge learning experience, and your ability to sort of spot the excesses, right? I think after that we've kind of seen some more cycles, right? And maybe I think we are in a cycle of excesses now, which is not on the corporate balance sheet, but that excess is sitting with government balance sheets, right? Like where the fiscal deficits are for most of the countries, right? Whether it is US, etc. So people are spending money that they don't have. So I think all of this ends badly, right? So I think that was a big learning, which then came to the way you manage the businesses, the way you allocate capital, the way you take risk, etc. So I think that helped me personally a lot. I think that big event.
So you made me remember the Lehman crisis. I actually developed a muscle memory to be extraordinarily defensive in investing in stock markets from that point of time, and I'm regretting it. Over the last 4 years, I've been regretting it.
So the pendulum swings from one extreme to the other, right?
Yeah.
Either you believe like the stock prices will grow to the sky, or you believe that the world is going to come to an end. Right?
Yeah.
So I think just kind of, which is why a lot of the capital allocation or investing is as much as a emotional, behavioral kind of process rather than just a scientific kind of process. So I think it's a combination of both.
Dhruvil, any interesting setback for you which you remember?
I think for me, the biggest one I can think of among several other setbacks that you go as an entrepreneur, the number one was a realization to this cliche concept which everybody tells you, but you only realize it when you truly go through it and feel it, is that as a business, money does not solve any of your problems. In 2015 when we started, like I was a young kid on the street. I was 25, 26 years old. India was in a very, the first funding wave that happened in India, right? Where Flipkart raised its first $1 billion round. Paytm became a unicorn for the first time and all that time frame. It was very easy to raise the first $1 million. Within 6 months, we could raise, from a seed to Series A, we went from 1 million funding to 10 million funding. At that time, 10 million was a lot of money, and with negligible revenue. And ended up raising it. And the moment you do that, I felt like I'm the king, right? I can do anything. Money is cheap. Investors don't know what they're doing, and then somehow, and my team is a rock star, and I need to kind of add more of such people. We grew from a team of 20 to 120 in 6 months after raising it. We also acquired a business without having a business of ourselves. Paid the acquired founder $2 million cash upfront without really doing any diligence whatsoever on the business, just in excitement. 6 months after that, the world started, kind of crashing on us, right? Where we realized that all the people we had hired, most of them were with us because we were funded and because we were giving them heavy bonuses, heavy salaries. We had no culture whatsoever in the company. Our customers were all fragile in themselves. Other startups were our customers because I built a great network in startup ecosystem, and I ended up selling to other founders who were figuring things out themselves. And the last one, we ended up kind of getting a fancy office and had no monthly MIS cash flow understanding whatsoever. We had one accountant for doing data entry, had no finance person whatsoever. And I think that's when we realized one of the setbacks happened where the acquired company we realized that they actually had a great revenue, but 80% of the revenue was receivables, and they never collected that money. And we realized that we were just funding this thing, but why is it not giving anything back? And when the amount in the bank reduced by 70% in 6 months, that's when I got scared. The moment I got scared, that reflects again, in my behavior, in the confidence that you exhibit, in the bets you take. The moment you start becoming conservative, all those bold people that you acquired around you, they'll start to leave. So a lot of our customers churned because their businesses got shut down because they did not have it figured out. So a lot of people left, a lot of negativity in the culture. Customers left, heavy churn, extremely high burn. This company we had acquired, we had no idea what to do. I called up the founder of this acquired company. He was enjoying in Maldives because he had made money at that time, right? And I just suddenly felt I'm all alone. And that's when I realized the value of the fundamentals of a business, which is you need to have a good product, sustainable customer base, what is called profitability. You can't randomly acquire companies without really having your own thing in place. And you need people, most importantly, which truly believe in the vision. And they want to work hard with you. They want to make money with the business and not before the business. And that was, I think, that learning all happened in 2017. And after that, the way I ran business was significantly different. I also engaged with a few of the mentors I developed at that time, which had built sustainable, sound businesses. Met them, they taught me a lot of things, had a very metric-driven organization from that point onward. And in the last 8 years, I think we've done a great job after that.
Wow. Very inspiring story, Dhruvil. So we all are part of the startup ecosystem. So this question is for all of us. And if you look at every company has a culture and a DNA of its own. But startups, one thing is common. Every startup is fast-paced and high-growth kind of a culture. So how do you drive high performance from your teams without culture being tagged as toxic? How do you go about and creating these kind of high performance teams?
I can probably take it quickly. I think one of the things that we have done is setting the right expectations. I think early on in our journey, we always used to draw a rosy picture in front of hires, and I think that's a classic mistake every entrepreneur does, where to attract talent. And especially when they're in the last round, you made the offer, you don't want to lose that candidate. So you end up kind of showing that it's going to be, great and it's going to be easy, or at least not easy, but you will showcase things which are good. What we started doing is that after that is that we always kind of, especially in my round of interview, I kind of set the expectations super, super low. I tell them about all the other, like bad stuff that can happen in the business, how much pressure they might potentially face, what the metrics would be. and I would see how the other person reacts to that, and based on that I would kind of hire, and I think that kind of creates higher success ratio in the team.
Yeah.
And such people also, and then it will naturally weed out the people who are not really they don't want to have enough skin, they don't want to have so much of skin in the game, so they would make up some reason to not join you for your own good. That's one of the things I've seen. But
So I think expectation setting is quite important. What has worked well for us quite over this time is one, setting great examples, right? So you give a lot of freedom to people. I remember when we were building out, we had set up our first warehouse outskirts of Mumbai. We didn't have the money to actually hire big shot warehouse managers, so we decided, यार उस time तो एक ही company अच्छी थी, Flipkart. अभी Flipkart, we didn't even have an HR, right? So Flipkart के सारे लोग उसके जो warehouse के सामने चाय की थड़ी है, right? वहाँ पे तो आते ही होंगे. So we would conduct all our interviews over there, right? And the initial guys that we picked up, people who were packing boys in our warehouse are today warehouse managers, right? Their salaries have grown like 50x in the last 8 years. When people see these examples, right, they themselves start feeling motivated that if I work hard, there is an opportunity. And वो कहते हैं ना, you can't build a culture, वो automatically form होना चालू हो जाता है, right? And it starts probably with the founder's vision, but later it basically becomes a part of how everybody else is behaving, right? The second thing we have done is, which we learned a lot more during COVID time, and a lot of us as founders struggled in COVID time a lot, was complete transparency. I personally took a call that I said, look, let us be very transparent about the cash flow situation of the company. We told them, look, this is the cash flow situation. We don't think so when this wave will end. Now we have two choices. Choice number one, we fire 50% of the people, right? Choice number two, we reduce everybody's salary by 50%, right? 6 महीने के बाद देखेंगे. But 6 महीने तक everybody, if we are taking, we are all in it together, right? Unanimously, everybody said, everybody let's slash it by 50%. And I told them, look, after that we will start repaying it back. But अभी तो अपने को runway चाहिए. After that, all decision making in our company has started happening jointly and much more unanimously, saying, let's do what is right, rather than saying it is good for someone, right? So that's our learning.
Yeah.
So I think one of the key factors which even Dhruvil spoke about is like, how do you make sure you're hiring the right talent, right? So whether you have a clearly defined role, what you expect that person to do, hiring the right talent, and then keeping them motivated, right? So if you get a combination of this, then it will be high performance. If you mess up on one of this, then for that person it will feel toxic, because either there is no proper role alignment, or there is no proper culture fit, or there is not enough motivation. So if you can get that equation right, you will continue to have high performance teams. Otherwise, it can get toxic, and it will be driven by them. Right, and then it just kind of spreads, right? That it will start to spread that negativity generally within the organization.
One of the additional things also that I've done at times is to weed out by default toxic people, right? You will unknowingly attract one person. Somebody may just turn toxic unintentionally for whatsoever reason. I think it's extremely important to respectfully weed them out of the lot, because toxicity spreads, and especially in a culture like India, office cultures like Indian offices, toxicity spreads very, very quickly before you could react to it. Yeah. So I think very quickly we would take that reactive action.
Yeah. I think, Dhruvil, the point is, as the company grows a bit larger, you will not be able to single out people from that kind of a way. It needs to be a bit more process oriented, and I completely echo the thought. It has to be the kind of people you would want to hire, especially apart from the skill set, but in the personality attributes. Like we know that people with a personality who have more fire in their belly and who have bit more flexible work well within our organization. So we tend to look for those personality attributes even in mid to senior level leaders among ourselves. Second, I think what Tarun mentioned, transparency and open communication, even in larger teams, they help very well, because at least everyone knows, even if it's a kind of a unpopular decision being made by the management, at least people know the context about it. So it helps reduce some level of toxicity around the whole play. So these are the few things which we are doing to ensure that we continue to drive a high performance culture, but still it needs to have a right balance as well.
I actually have a general question on this one, just out of my own curiosity. Maybe you could also answer. So in my consulting experience, I've always seen an up or out kind of a culture, right? So people who don't be like, sometimes growth waves come, right? And for any individual, could be at any level. When there is a stagnancy of course, not for a quarter or 2 quarters, but for a decent amount of time, how do you react to it? What's your strategy to that?
So, Dhruvil, up and out culture generally works well in teams which have more individual contributor roles. So let's say a consulting, iBanking, where you can pin out that this is the kind of output required from you. In a lot of businesses, the success of the output depends on a larger kind of a team. So you need to bring more accountability metrics around on various kind of leaders, and monitor them, review them a bit more in a micro manner, and that is the only way to drive it out, because you have to drive a high performance kind of a culture. You can't just leave it around. So my general view in life is I'll give complete independence to the teams if I know that in foreseeable quarter the numbers are going fine. The moment I get a perspective that the numbers may not go fine, I start getting a bit more, regular reviews, get to understand what's happening in the market. Is it a macro situation, or is it a problem with our kind of scenarios? Can I contribute by providing more resources? So it's more micro approach. That's when I
let's say somebody has been with you for 5 years. I'm just creating a situation.
Yeah.
And they've always been not the best performer, but good performer.
Yeah.
For last 1 year, for their own reasons, and which it's not macro or anything else, right? It's an internal reason. They are not able to drive performance, but they are also not poor performing.
Yeah.
Right? They are not like just sitting idle and doing nothing. They are trying, but it's not happening. Maybe that's a scale issue, maybe motivation issue, could be whatever.
Yeah.
It's been about 12 months, and this person has been in the system for 5 years. What would you do with that person?
So see, in these scenarios, one really have to take a call, because if someone is relatively not performing well with the right set of KPIs which have been given, and as management you are not taking corrective kind of decisions around on it, it impacts the overall team. So you need to take some kind of decisions, either move them to different team, either work with them around on their performance, put them in PIP, but various other mechanisms you need to do. So you will have to take action.
So you will take a corrective action, even for a stagnated employee and not underperforming. Underperforming, I'm sure 100% you could do PIP and whatnot.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I think one of the traditional approaches generally of organization building which has worked is you have like a pyramid, right? So you have operations or operating teams or execution oriented teams, and then you have a lot of managers. So general problem starts to happen is when you start to move, right, from execution to managerial roles, right? And some of them are not able, or most of them are not able to make that transition. I think generally you have to also see that don't promote people into skill sets that they don't have, right? And that is something that you need to observe and tell them, look, you're great at execution, stay in this execution role, right? You cannot move up. And that is a mistake that a lot of organizations do, is just to show promotion, you move them into roles which they are not suited for. And I think in general, given how technology is sort of bringing in efficiency, influence, and getting more embedded into businesses, I think generally the pyramid has to change, right? The pyramid that worked for like 30 years, where like banks, financial services, etc., those pyramids can't work, right? So it has to be maybe middle level light, execution heavy, and even like the senior management, etc., also needs to be more execution and action oriented.
Yeah. So, Rumit, a follow up to this. Do you think, for you, Is hustle a positive word?
I think hustle is a neutral word for me, and I would say neutral to sort of negative, because hustle, the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear hustle is activity, and activity is not necessarily good input or which will drive outcomes, right? So I think the way I think about hustle is more activity, and what I would like to see is more action, call for action, problem solving with calmness.
Yeah.
Right? So just activity is not necessarily problem solving.
Dhruvil, I was going through one of your posts and you mentioned work from home is a drug. It's a very interesting take. Can you elaborate on it?
So I have a very simple funda on this one, right? I strongly believe in learning from osmosis, learning from the environment. And I also strongly believe that most of the people in current times, right, when they are working from home, there's a lot of distraction that they are going through. And once you become comfortable in that, even high performers, kind of start to reduce the ability and the potential that they have. And I've seen that not just at LogiNext, elsewhere. And that's why if you see like some of the top performing organizations across the world, including, you would have heard about JPMC recently, before that Goldman Sachs, before that Amazon, right? Which are the best performing organization at scale across the world. They're known for that. And they all call people like 5 days in the office, that too in the US. I feel why it's become very prevalent for people to demand it because it's available. I also find it very unfair to other people who actually, for whom it is not available. For example, we always say, hey, customer support roles or ops roles should come in the office. And I always take this example, right? Like doctors should be in the office, your plumber should be in the on the field, your delivery people should be on the field. Literally everybody should be on the field so that I can be at home and be more comfortable, where I could actually have gone and tried to stretch my boundaries as well and probably try to educate other people. I've also seen that people who are only working remotely, they quickly lean towards a very transactional way of looking at their job, right? The whole feeling passionate about it is a very human concept, right? And there is no technology available which makes you feel passionate looking at a screen, no matter how many other faces you have on the screen.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I feel globally work from home is a drug and it's very immoral, and I think it should stop.
That's some music for commercial real estate. Tarun, you have a very distributed kind of a team, right? So what are the attributes you look in a workspace while choosing a workspace, more in terms of amenities, design, and location?
So ours is so we have two sides to the business. One is the whole corporate office, and the other is the whole ops heavy business. Corporate office, obviously, the nicer the building, easier to hire.
Yeah.
Easier to retain. People spend so much amount of time now in office that they need amenities in the building, right? If there are nice cafeterias around, those are the kind of things which give them a lot of free time, which helps them bond. On the operation side, however, I think there is a massive opportunity that India presents now, given that we run so many dark stores. These are like mini warehouses right in the heart of city centers.
Yeah.
I don't think so there are very clear regulations or very clearly defined such spaces being created, given the kind of demand which is coming from quick commerce, food commerce, businesses like ours. So over there, we find challenge of finding the right places where 24/7 operations are possible. You're not disturbing people nearby, but at the same time, giving a very homely feel to all our employees. So I think we operate across the spectrum from an HO to a very small mini warehouse.
Yeah, got it. So let me ask all of you a hypothetical question. Say you are hiring a 25-year-old rock star performer. What will be your elevator pitch to him or her? So Dhruvil, you want to go first?
My elevator pitch to a 25-year-old young professional would be to get them to the top of their hierarchy in the career in, let's say, a 7 to 8 year kind of a time frame. We have already had several examples where people joined fresh out of college in younger entry-level roles, and they grew to become VPs in like 7 to 8 years.
Perfect.
So extremely high growth in short amount of time is what I would offer.
Got it. Rumit, for you?
I think it's going to be super challenging first to identify if 25-year-old is a rock star, right? So I think that is going to be
You
the
were a
biggest-
rock star when you were 25.
That is in hindsight. But when I was 25, I don't think I knew, or even the guys who were hiring me knew. So I think that being aside, I think it has to be that generation, right? Or this generation, which is 25-year-old. I think they are looking for high performance and freedom and high growth, right? They don't want to work in bureaucratic, long ladder kind of cultures, right? So I think that has to be the big driver.
Yeah. Got it.
To hire them.
Got it. Tarun, for you?
So I would say three things. If you want to work hard, grow fast up the ladder, have as much freedom as required, but be very, very result oriented, right? Then this is the right place for you. I think a lot of high energy young people are looking at all these 3-4 things. So we just tell them, look, if you're willing to put in the efforts, right, there won't be anything stopping you.
Perfect. Sounds great. So we have a common theme over here. Now moving on, all three of you belong to very different kind of industries and sector. I think our viewers would love to get some insights about your sector. Starting with you, Dhruvil, with respect to your sector, do you think AI will complement or disrupt B2B SaaS models?
So I have this one liner that I always keep saying, that this is 2010 and we are building for cloud.
Yeah.
So if you go back to 2010 and if you would ask the question to a software company that, hey, should you be using cloud as a fundamental infrastructure point, the answer has to be absolute yes. For AI, if in today's world, if a SaaS company is not building on AI as the core model for whatever vertical or horizontal they are focusing on, I think that company will die in next 5 years. So by 2030, all the SaaS companies would transform into AI companies.
Got it. Got it. Rumit, you are in jewelry sales. Jewelry traditionally is a very conventional business. It is a very high involvement and a high value product. How do you end up selling online?
So one big interesting transformation that has transpired in India over the last 20-25 years is, let's say 30 years back, everything was kind of over the counter, right? There were no aisles, there was no large formats, there was no concept of browsing, right? So once you got the mall culture in, let's say, early 2000s, all those over-the-counter experience became aisle-based experience, and then came the whole digital wave where aisles became endless and browsing became continuous, right? Now, if you look at all the categories that have evolved, whether it is bags, shoes, any of the consumer categories. Now, consumers are interacting so much more with that category. But if you look at jewelry, it's still sold the way it was sold, let's say 30 years back. You walk into a store, high pressure environment, they're going to ask, what is your budget? What are you looking for? You can't walk into the store, browse for 2 hours, and then say, I'll come back tomorrow. I'll browse for another 3 hours, and I'll do this for the next 1 week, and maybe I don't buy anything.
Yeah.
It's impossible to do that in a jewelry store. So you can't create aisles, you can't give customer a browsing experience. And I think that is why an omni-channel business works beautifully, where online is the best way to kind of browse, explore, interact with the category. And it's still a pleasure purchase, so you can choose to actually walk into the store, select online, walk into the store, touch and feel and buy. It's pretty much how we also buy cars today, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody can sell a car which has zero online presence, right? So I think that is what we are bringing onto the table, and consumers are experiencing in all the categories.
I can so relate to what you said, high pressure environment of a jewelry store. I remember a lot of years back, my mom and my wife, they dressed up very well, and they said, we are going to browse in a jewelry shop. If we are not dressed up well, we are not going to be shown great kind of a jewelry as well. We won't be able to browse through it. And I think online has solved for that problem. Tarun, coming to you, your products and services also makes weddings more elegant, right? Can you share some interesting incidents around celebrity wedding demands? Because I know you cater to a lot of celebrity weddings.
So one big difference between celebrity weddings and large-scale weddings are large-scale weddings need grandeur, big venues, massive amount of flowers. Whereas if you look at celebrity weddings, they are like a shoot, very color coordinated. The design process starts from the kind of dress that the celebrity is going to wear. It should all be so coordinated, so photogenic that it essentially becomes aspiration in bits and pieces. So just a beautiful Varmala, right? Very intricate work would go into it because that will become like the talk of the town.
Yeah.
Then if you look at the softness of the colors which is being used would not be as bright, but they basically gel very well with what's the Pantone shade of the year, right? Whereas if you see a traditional wedding, it will have, okay, red is very important and bright colors are extremely critical, they are auspicious, right? So in a way, celebrity weddings are fashion statements.
On that fun note, let's move to an even more fun rapid fire round. Rumit, I'll start with you. If you had to invest in a startup, which one would that be?
Not a specific name, but circular economy, companies working in circular economy and recycling. I think that's...
We are never able to pull out a specific name from you. Okay.
I'm diplomatic.
Yeah.
CFO style.
Yeah. What's the one thing you would like to change about yourself?
Okay. I think spend more time exercising.
Okay. Okay. One job you think you had been terrible at?
Many jobs, but I think designing.
Okay.
I'll be very bad at creative stuff.
Right. Right. Tarun, coming to you. If someone were to play you in a movie, who would you want it to be?
Iron Man. I think that those kind of characters just inspire me. So wherever I can fit into something which is hardcore, high tech, superhuman abilities.
Yeah. No. So let me rephrase the question. If there's a movie on you,
Okay.
then who would play you from the current Bollywood?
Oh, from the current Bollywood, Ranbir Kapoor is a great actor.
Yeah.
I think he can play almost any role. I'm a big fan of him.
When I was just going through the question, I genuinely thought about Farhan Akhtar. He would really play you well, with the starting days of badminton and, then grinding up all the way. Perfect. Share your favorite dad joke.
This is a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one actually. Yeah, but I'm a very now person, right?
Yeah.
If you will, if anybody comes to me and I will usually say, let's solve it now,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it's like, I think that's how my kids say, one, love to fix things and love to fix things now.
Okay. Got it. Favorite city to live and to vacation?
I started loving Dubai a lot.
Yeah.
It's great, it's fun, and it still keeps you very much Indianized at heart and in friends.
Right. Right. Coming to you, Dhruvil. Have you ever had a funny celebrity encounter in real life?
I had it last week.
Oh.
Not a celebrity, but not. I had last week. So I met Rajiv Lakshman, who is Raghu's twin brother from Roadies.
Oh, yeah.
And we spent like 2 entire days with him on an event. And he has like 2 different personalities, right? Where one is a very Roadies kind of a personality, which he can really exercise on you in front of everybody in a very bad way, and there's no way you can match up to him. And second is a very, very nice person, right? So I had a very interesting encounter with him.
Got it. And if your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Wow, interesting. I think the Yun Hi Chala Chal from Swades.
Ah, that's a nice one. Good. Perfect. Who would be your favorite podcaster?
Joe Rogan. I think the way he's been able to get crazy insights from some of the biggest, the most successful people in their fields in the world.
Yeah.
And also kind of getting Elon Musk to smoke up on the podcast was pretty cool.
Yeah. I know what you are hinting at.
Next one.
Yeah. So the last one is for everyone. If you could describe your company's culture in one word, what would it be? Tarun?
Open door.
Action oriented.
Dhruvil?
We have an animal that we kind of call ourselves Panther.
Okay, perfect, great. So with that, we come to the end of this episode of The Corner Office. Thank you all for spending time with us and sharing your insights and learnings with me. Great having you with us.
Thank you. It's
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure.
Thanks for having
Pleasure.
us.
Lovely meeting you.
Stay tuned as the Corner Office continues to grow bigger and better. I am your host, Sumit Lakhani, signing off.